What'd you guys think of that? I mean, I just thought that turned out bad. A little bit of late night coffee, just kind of burning the not midnight oil. It's not even that late. It's 8:10. Gosh, between the friends crew neck and 8 o'clock bedtimes, I should have like 5 kids by now. YouTube everyday dad. I'm coming for you. Yo guys, what is going on? Jake Felzine here. Kind of just, this is going to be a really casual video. Hope you guys liked the intro and the first part. Again, that was sort of a cinematic food B-roll type video. Had a ton of fun making this. Again, with the whole theme of this year of just trying to kind of make more stuff that I'm super psyched on. This was kind of a fun little project that Carl and I are kind of piecing together. We're just trying to more and more make an effort to see if we can kind of do these food videos on kind of a more consistent basis. I have a lot of fun making them because I can just sit there with the camera and film them, and she can make food, which is one of her favorite things to do. So we're having a lot of fun with these. My plan for this video is you guys have seen the finished product. I want to talk through some of the things that I did, some of the things that I would recommend, some things that I would do differently. Almost treat this as sort of a director's commentary. I'm going to use Final Cut right here to just kind of reference some of these points, to kind of talk through some stuff that I thought I was going to do, some stuff that didn't turn out. And then also, I did have enough foresight to look like a total goober, and I wore a GoPro on my head while we were filming this. So I'll kind of, as I talk about certain pieces, I'll flash that up. So to get started, just because I know a lot of you are curious, not that it matters a whole bunch, but I did film this entire video on the GH5S, which is the camera we're filming on right now, with the Sigma 18-35, which that lens is hiding somewhere else. I'm using my wide angle right now. We had, well, 2 light sources. We had the sun coming in from the windows for most of the afternoon, and then the second light source was this super cheap light that's kind of right here, bouncing light in. It was like $30 on Amazon. I've talked about it before. I'll link it down below. And then I shot this entire video. I don't think I did anything but 96 frames per second. So I went into the GH5S slow motion settings instead of doing the typical 120 or even the 180 or even the 240 that this camera offers. I've really found kind of that sweet spot with 96 frames. It seems to be enough slow motion, but still actually pack in a decent amount of quality. And I am really enjoying how the 96 frames is turning out. So at a high level, that's kind of how we lit everything. That's kind of how we shot everything. This one main light pretty much didn't move from its one spot. I had it kind of coming in to bounce a little bit of extra light just because the sun was to Carly's back, and so I wanted a little bit more extra light coming in on a lot of the prep and the food and stuff. Some of the shots we really played to the sun coming in, and I think they turned out really cool, but we also wanted a little bit of extra light to come in just so we could see what was going on a little bit better. As far as any particular shots that I think turned out really well or maybe didn't turn out so well, the first one that I really want to talk about is the potato peeling shot. So when we had this shot, we kind of envisioned, and you'll see this on the GoPro footage, but I kind of envisioned this whip down from behind the light. And again, I'm doing this all manual focus, no autofocus with the GH5 and the Sigma because it's just terrible, but I'm coming in and trying to essentially hold focus on the potato, and then as she's peeling, pull that away and really try to follow that peeling movement. Well, if it wasn't obvious in the edit, and if you couldn't tell, that did not happen whatsoever. We tried like probably, I don't know, several takes, and at basically like take probably number 10, I was just like, this is not happening, then we're wasting a ton of time on this shot. We're gonna run out of this beautiful sunset daylight that's coming in. I just didn't think it was worth it. But what I did do is I still filmed that same motion, so I whipped down, followed her coming in with the potato and peeling. The peel was not in focus, but you guys did see the shot where I basically had enough foresight to do 2 takes, and I was down next to the potato for another take where she actually peeled that, and I was able to get the peel from the potato flying off, and it was in focus, and I think it just looked super sick. So in the edit, you have the one shot, and as I'm pulling out, I actually did kind of like a YouTuber zoom out transition, and went to the shot where the peel was in focus, and it really, with a little bit of motion blur, really felt kind of like one continuous motion where she really hit, and then it kind of punched in on this other shot. And when I did that, I did some speed ramping so that the peel really kind of caught midair and then landed, and then, you know, that was the end of the shot. So that one turned out really well. That was probably my favorite sort of movement piece of this entire sequence that we did. I will say, going into this shoot, I did really want to do a very traditional kind of cinematic B-roll, you know, like what everyone's doing with the music and with the sound effects. And so I was doing a lot of these whip pans, and kind of around halfway through, I just sort of got a little bit rushed, and I don't know, maybe I lost kind of some of my vision per se. And essentially I stopped doing these whip pans, or at least doing them in a way that was going to be cohesive, and I kind of lost that flow. I wasn't really sure. I've never really watched Carly make this dish super in depth, and so I really wasn't sure what she was going to do next. And it kind of just turned into me trying to capture as much of the process as possible so that I would have something for the edit. So really, my first take of this, I was actually doing it to a completely different song, very poppy, and I think it was okay. I think it was going to be good, but it just felt like stuff I'd done before, and I wasn't loving it. I needed to kind of mix it up. So I ended up going kind of this different approach with the sound effects first, really trying to draw intrigue with the kitchen sound effects, the clock kind of as my theme of, okay, it's go time. We have the pause in the middle with the clock sound again, and then our ending where we wrap up with the clock to kind of signify Carly's kind of rushing to get this meal together, and it turned out great, right? That was kind of what I was going for. And so instead, I actually went with sort of that drum heavy hitting, you know, the and I mean, I loved that. I thought it sounded super cool and really added to the effect. So that is what I used to really push and rush the edit, give it a lot more feel. We didn't do as much slow motion until kind of the end when it starts to wrap up, and a couple of shots in the middle, and then some speed ramping. But really, if I'm being super honest with you guys, this edit took a totally different turn because I thought it was going to be very much a poppy, you know, you know, like all of the super classic stuff. But I was like, this has got to be different. I was, you know, like probably 30 seconds in, and I was like, I've done this before. So this is what I landed on. And again, not that there's anything wrong with doing the kind of poppy music stuff, but I think this turned out great. One shot that I thought turned out super good was at about the 22-second mark. Again, the Sigma just has these flares that I mean, if you don't want flares, you know, the Sigma has some pretty serious flares, but I love the flares that come out of this lens. And when we had the sun beating in through the window, I just thought we got some really cool stuff with that in several spots. I'm giving another tip on these videos. One thing that I've found to be just incredibly valuable as an editor is try to get creative with your movement. We're going to do a whole nother video, hopefully my next video, talking about how when you're kind of by yourself and you don't have movement as much like on your side, there's a lot of ways you can get really creative with how to, you know, position your shots and shoot your stuff and blah, 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 blah. That's for a different video. But when you have like a model or someone who you're working with and you are the sole shooter, you know, you're behind the camera, try to incorporate as much movement as possible. I mean, when it comes to filmmaking, we're trying to be there. We're trying to get our audience really wrapped in and invested in what we're shooting, how we're doing it. And so if we can, you know, do these really cool movements, it just invites them in, right? And so like one shot that I really loved, and I think it could have been better, I don't know what it was on this shoot, but I really was just not nailing some of my movement. But just, you know, guys, practice. I'm practicing. I'm not perfect. But the shot where Carly was actually rolling the dough to make the little kind of spaghetti snake-like strip to then cut into the gnocchi, I really tried to follow her movement there again to just immerse the audience, bring them in and feel like they're right in there with the action as if they're kind of kneading the dough themselves, right? Or rolling, or whatever the technical term is for cooking. Even if you don't want to do these whip pan transitions, or you're trying to kind of figure out how to do those, or I don't know, they're so overused. If you're filming a motion or an action, try to get that motion and action in there. If there's one other final tip that I want to squeeze in, again, I don't want to make this video super long. Let me know in the comments down below if you like this format, guys, because I will go into way more depth. I'm just kind of testing this out and kind of talking you guys through what I did. But if you want like way more in-depth detail, let me know and I will do it in future videos, because Carl and I are kind of planning on making a lot of these food videos. But one thing that we did, and I did it with the mushroom cutting, I did it with the garlic smashing. So it got a little bit overused, but I was just so psyched on the result. And I think I did it a little bit with the tomato. It's kind of hard to tell. But basically what I did, and this is like a total tip, if you guys don't have a gimbal or your camera isn't stabilized, this camera is not stabilized. It has no image stabilization. That lens has no image stabilization. So what I was actually doing, I'll show the footage, but I was using my hand, actually I think it was I was using like the cuff of my sweatshirt and kind of rolling it up on my hand and placing that underneath the camera itself, and then actually using that as kind of a smooth surface to basically come in from the whip pan and then slide across, obviously having my focus set up ahead of time, and then moving across the table with that, sleeve. That's probably super loud right there. But using that sleeve as kind of a safety, kind of cushion to then slide smoothly across the counter and get these really cool movements. And again, if you don't have a gimbal or good stabilization like I was fighting, I just found that technique to be super handy for this particular use case, and it just added a lot of really cool dynamic movement. So I don't know, I thought it was sick. Anyway guys, that is all I have for you today. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to finish this edit, and I'm super pumped to get this one out for you. I'm hoping to maybe do some more filming tomorrow. We'll see, guys. Man, I just cannot make videos fast enough, and I don't know, I'm feeling so excited to be creating again. So anyway, hope you guys like this one. You guys have a good rest of your day. Again, comment down below if you'd like to see a different, like some other dish made, some other B-roll, cinematic, whatever. I'm having a ton of fun doing all of this, but I will see you guys in the next one. Catch you later, and this is Jake signing out. Peace.